All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 19th ever episode of the Failing to Success in Multifamily Show, a podcast where we appreciate, discuss, and reflect on the setbacks real estate investors have had leading up to their success. Today, I have a legend, a one of one, and I have the absolute privilege and honor to have Ryan Dumas on as a guest. Ryan and I connected through a Facebook mentoring group that we were both in at the time called the Deal Room. Link in the show notes. Ryan has a background in commercial financing, more specifically apartments, hotels, self-storage, you name it. But he has also recently transitioned as a well-established multifamily investor. Ryan recently holds $57 million in assets under management, and he is just getting started. Through our various conversations, I quickly learned that Ryan is a resourceful and extremely hardworking entrepreneur. Now, I'm sure that behind all of his success is sacrifice, dedication, and a whole lot of patience. So I can't wait for you all to hear his journey, his successes, but most of all, and the reason why we are all here today, his failures as he continues to reach his goals within multifamily. Ryan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Appreciate it a
sir.
lot. So, yeah, man, this road, people think, oh, this is easy. This is that. You have this. It's like, no, 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 no. So, yeah, it's been a long journey. Lots of failures to get to where I'm at, and it's the beginning of it. And it's always that first deal that's the hardest too. So, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, a little bit about myself. I mean, I live in Clearwater, Florida. I'm from Pennsylvania. I have a wife and four daughters down here. Been doing commercial financing for about 9 years. Started off doing equipment financing and working capital on the hotel side. 2 years later, actually 3 years later, went into the debt side and did the refinancing, acquisition, some build of hotels. And a few years later, we looked at diversifying and went into self storage, assisted living, some pharmacies, and apartment financing, a lot of agency, a lot of bridge non-recourse. I've been doing a lot of conventions in my life, sometimes between 5 and 20 conferences, conventions a year. And then COVID happened, and 2019 was a really good year. We were in contract with a couple of investing deals also, as I was going to conferences, conventions, looking at getting on the investing side. COVID came, and we had a couple of investors that didn't want to go forward with the deal that we had. The banks wanted an extra 10% down in reserves. Rates were still decent and low. So we didn't, we pulled back. We lost some money, earnest money deposit. So I think I lost 3,000 earnest money deposit, 7,000 with the attorneys. One of the partners, husband and wife in Texas, paid their part, and the other partners that we had in Texas, New Mexico didn't pay their part at all. So we kind of split ways with them. Worked with the attorney fee. I'm like, hey, I know it's $7,000. Being beginning of COVID, it's bad. It's February, March now. It's getting ready to be April, and there was, I had no sales for 3 months. I'm like, can I just pay you the 7,000, just 1,000 a month for 7 months? So I'm, not going to spend all my money I have and everything else. And then we did that. The payments, paid them off, paid everybody off, and then we got into it where I was kind of bummed about it and everything. But hearing all these stories with listen to Eric Thomas, ET, and just about getting back up again, and Denzel Washington. It's not falling back; it's falling forward. Failing forward, falling forward, whatever you want to call that. I did a mastermind at that time. I broke my leg in the 2020, like later on that in that year and everything. But yeah, lots of things that happened and everything. And we what we did was we pivoted. I had 7 or 8 months of making no money in 2020, and then started doing the financing and deals. And then I just was persistent. What am I good at? What people can I be around? In November, I joined Jake and Gino coaching program with a few other partners in there. Also, I joined my first million multifamily, Yading and Jennings Smith, and got in the deal room and been in 8 sprints. And I think it was 5 or 6 sprints before I closed the deal. And backtrack, I did work on a couple of deals and failed at raising money on 2 different deals. the first two deals that I came into in April and May, I believe it was, or May and June of this year, that I successfully raised money, worked on the asset management side with my partners, closed those deals, raised 500K. The second deal raised about 1.8, and now about 2.2 million on my next one. So the first two deals I failed at, I closed on with those same operators again, the second time around. So it was pretty cool when you get the, Denzel Washington just talking about, I'm not good at stories, but he's talking about, he failed at something, but then he got his Grammy or Emmy award, whatever it was, at that same theater that he failed at. I mean, it's just some of those things. So, you fail, but you got to get through those hurdles. So that's a kind of a little bit of a story about us. I mean, we started working with some partners, Javier and Hinojo and Danny Galvin, that are really good at asset management. They need a little bit of help and handy on some of the leasing, the asset management on our side, and raising the capital, some help with the consulting operations. So we're really good at that. We're helping out hand in hand. We have our roles in the company, and plus the investor side. So we closed two deals with them. We were working on another deal to close today, and some issues that we had. We had the full money raised, and a couple, shooting, murders, this and that and everything. So it's another story to get into, but things happen. The raise was there on that deal, but just have to go through our things on there, and the lender pulled out and saw it. So, working on the details of those issues, there's always ups and downs on all these things.
Yeah.
I never want to go work out in the morning, but when I get to work out and I get to read my Bible and everything else, man, the rest of the day is just, I'm just like, watch out. So I'm like, I feel like a lion, but I mean, it's, listen to Eric Thomas and listen to music, and just starting that day at, getting up at 5:55, listen to Mark Evans, the deal maker, DM, and he talked about getting up at 5:55. And I was like, you know what? I'm listening to Ed Millette, 1% better every day. So what am I going to do now? Get up at 5:50, 5:45, 5:45, 5:40, 5:35. So, I mean, just trying to be better every day. And I know sometimes look at me, I look a little tired right now and everything, but, a little bit less sleep, but I can sleep later on. So just my priorities is making sure my family is I'm having time with my family. We're having a good time. We're vacationing. We're doing these things because it's not all about the money and the cars and all those things. So I mean, it's more of that time, the vacationing and living your life. You don't be stressed out and just have the money. So I mean, people are searching for different things in life. I'm just searching for more time with family, quality time, and we're in contract with the 200,000 square foot industrial right now, and we also have a 244 unit Class A luxury apartment complex in downtown Houston with our co-GP partners and everything. So really good things. And then I think it's tomorrow we're closing on 6.5 acres in Bradenton, Sarasota with JV. So we just straight up did a JV deal on that. There's like 6 of us, I think, it's involved. But yeah, man, just looking to help others out. I have a mastermind starting next Thursday. Just trying to help others out. It's a very inexpensive one. I think I give $199 a month in value. I have a lot of people that are speaking on it. Going to teach my failures, that what I've learned at, but it's also team.
Yep.
So that's a little bit about the basics and everything of what got me started, how I got into it. I love being with people. I love networking. I love helping my investors get a better return than what they're getting on their investments now. And there's so many people that I have that have money in the stock markets and banks and checking that are making 0.5% interest rate, 2-3%. And I just love when they're like, thank you, Ryan, for doing this. And, now I can make X amount on this dollars, or that we can do this and that. I wasn't seeing the light and everything. So it makes me happy. And then, I look at myself as a consultant / financial advisor for my investors.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Ryan, a lot to unpack here, brother. And a standout characteristics of yours that I can already feel, and I'm sure our listeners and our viewers are also going to feel, is your mindset. And I can't wait for the mindset portion of the show, because I think that's really what separates you from the pack, is your mindset and your ability to overcome challenges, the many challenges, some of which you've already highlighted here briefly, but the many challenges that you've overcome, and how you're still able to move forward and move forward persistently as well. But Ryan, I want to take a step back a little bit and go back to the beginning. Right now, you were working as a lender. To a lot of people, right, they pick a career path and they're comfortable with it. They're happy where they're at. If they make good money, they stay there. What made you transition from being a lender to being a an investor, more focused on being an investor and actually owning and buying properties? What made you want to make that shift?
Well, I mean, I guess one thing that maybe make that shift was, our company wanted to diversify in the financing and go to other things. I'm going to these conferences. I'm seeing people's personal finance statement go from 500K to a million to 2 million to $3 million. It don't matter if it's hotel owner or
Yeah.
apartment investors, general partner, JV, whatever it was. Net worth and cash flow, a little bit of all those things, and this creative finance. I'm like, well, I just do conventional SBA. It's kind of hard to do creative because I'm not. You can't use 10% down, 0% down with a non-recourse lender, and SBA has to have so much down. So I was like, these guys and gals are pretty savvy. And me, make my 20, 50, $60,000 a month, a quarter, whatever it is, and then the next month, next quarter, it's back at zero again. So if you have a asset that's cash flowing and you're making whatever, 2,000 a month, 10,000, 50,000 a month, whatever that number is, the next month it's going to be there.
Yeah.
There's different things I look at. I mean, I've been financing hotels forever. So hotels, what do you got to do? You have to rent out those rooms daily, every weekend. I mean, I think the average stay is like 2.5, 3.5 days. If you have an apartment complex, you got people sitting there for 12 months. 7 months, whatever your contract's set at. You have a property manager running it.
Yeah.
Hotel, if you're in an economy or extended stay, they can be great assets, great cash flow. But if you have a budget in, an economy in, that's a lot of cash business coming there. If you're trying to do process procedures and have 2 or 3 of them, and somebody else is running your hotel, your cash business is taken. Apartments, they're writing checks, they're wiring, they're paying in an app. So I mean, we just I like those. I like the assets. I wanted to get into it because it was residual money coming back. And then I had people that are like, "Hey, I'm looking at their PFS. I'm like, we've been talking for about 2 years. You still have that 2 million in your account, your checking, your 401k? Yeah. What have you made on it?" He's like, not much at all. And I'm like, I got people that want to go ahead and have me help out with their financing and help them raise capital and be on their team. So I eventually I was like, hey, let's look at this. And they're like, okay, let me put in for 100K. And then the next time later, like, let me put in 300,000. And that same person, let me put in 500,000. And that's just one person. And then some people are like, hey, I have a 1031. I have $1 million. What do I do? And I'm like, well, I'm working on 2 deals right now, but this one here is the best one for you. Why? And he's like, well, we're going to turn this thing in 2 or 3 years. The other one's a 4 or 5 year hold, and the numbers look better. So again, my financial advising and I like it. So, and then they're like, hey, I had 2 friends that want to invest too. So, I mean, it's just a trickling effect. I love doing it. And those assets, we're going to cash flow on some of those, and some of those we're going to make X amount of dollars. So if I put in, $100,000 and we get out 200, now I'm going to invest that in 3 or 4 years from now. From then, that 200 will turn into 5 or 600K. So, we'll get cash flow on it, depreciation and appreciation. And I wasn't getting that from the financing side. So that was one of the main reasons I did that. I still am closing on financing on a couple of apartment complexes. One self-storage and one hotel in the next like 2 months. And I did close on a $20 million mobile home park about a month and a half ago.
Nice.
And I think a couple other hotels. So, I got a pretty good pipeline. I advertise for it on Facebook here and there. And a lot of my clients that past clients. So I love doing the SBA loans for hotels with less money down. I love refinancing people and getting them into a fixed rate conventional. And then if it's a good enough location and their debt service is always consistent over 1.25, 1.35, and it's not volatile, I will get them a non-recourse loan, but I won't give them a non-recourse loan if they're in a seasonal place because it triggers the master servicer, and people have lost hotels like crazy during COVID and everything because they weren't meeting their debt service, even though they were still making their payments. But yeah, I love what I do. I love helping others out, and I believe in team, and I like to get deals closed.
Yeah, man, thank you so much for giving that background about yourself. What I love about the way that you operate is how well you've positioned yourself on both sides of the business as a lender and as an investor as well. And what really stands out to me as to how you were able to do that is through relationships. Now, as you know, getting into multifamily, getting into real estate, really, the name of the game is building relationships. And I see that you are really, really good at building and maintaining relationships with the people that you want to do business with, right? You connect with people in walkthroughs. You know, as you mentioned, you go to a lot of events, conferences, things like that to connect with potential business partners. Um, I would say that for me, that was definitely a learning curve as well, getting into multifamily. Once I made the transition, the question was always, how do I break in, right? How do I close a deal? And it happened. You and I were talking about my recent acquisition. It happened through a business partner that I met at a meetup. Now, I want to ask you, Ryan, how was that? What were some of the challenges to transition into actually being, being an investor as you are right now? Like, what were some of the challenges? What did you have to do to really break in and close that first deal?
That's a good question. So, I mean, I'll start off with the one thing that you said. I usually meet people on Facebook
Mhm.
and then I visit them. Like me and you, we're getting ready to meet up in Charlotte. Pretty
Yes,
excited about that.
sir.
So, I mean,
We'll have a nice cigar over here.
I'm intentional, man. I'm intentional in what I do. I meet people on Facebook and then I'm like, where are you at? So my phone, if you look, it'll say Tenney, North Carolina, Colin. It'll say so-and-so Charlotte. And I'll look in there going, hey, you want to meet in Charlotte? Want to meet up? And I don't care if it's, never going to do a deal for me because I hope you can learn from me. I hope you can learn from the failures I did. I might only have a couple of things I did right, but hopefully you can learn from Javier, my partner. Hopefully you can learn from Danny. I mean, hopefully you can, the management company, Ironfish, if they're out there and everything else, and you're like, man, how come you got this management company? Oh, they had 104 of our refrigerators and washer and dryers and appliances ready in a couple of days. Oh, really? I mean, so just those things of how we select things and everything, because
Yeah.
man, it's not me, it's my team. I mean, it's like, hey, Danny did this, Javier did this, Madeline did this. So, I mean, that's one of the things I look at, but um, transitioning from the financing. So I listened to Tim Bratz. I used to listen to Tim Bratz all the time since he got into the multifamily side. He spoke for my mastermind, and I hope he speaks for this next mastermind. So Tim is sensational. I spoke with him about 5-6 years ago. And he was at Disney, and he was just getting these deals, and they were doing like an 80% GP, 20% LP side, giving them great returns, buying for 5 million, $1 million renovation, it's 6 million in, and it's worth like 10, 12 million a year later. But yeah, I mean, he just talked about branding yourself, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I've been on Facebook, social media, whatever it is. I'm branding myself. So he said, yeah, it was branding yourself and then time blocking. I was like starting to get busy, starting to make good money with financing years ago, and I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, okay, I'm branding myself. I'm like, well, I think I had 5,000 friends on Facebook. I'm like, I've already been trying to brand myself. And that taught me, he's like, dude, you branded yourself, but you really haven't branded yourself. So then I named myself the traveling commercial finance guy, Ryan Dumas. And I'll change it just so people can see an update. And I'll put traveling commercial finance guy or traveling commercial finance guy, Ryan. Have not did a logo for it or one thing I was told to do and just been so busy is have a website that says Ryan Dumas or traveling commercial finance guy Ryan or whatever it is, but haven't gotten to that. But yeah, I'm good at branding myself and then repositioning of hey, I'm an investor now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard because when you're on the side and you got a lot of people at looking at you and they're like social media and it's like, oh, it says you're a finance guy, how are you doing investing? Well, and then you got to explain what you do. But I have a lot of people that I've been friends with for a long time, especially the people from India, a lot of the hotel owners, and they trusted me. So I had to close some deals with some people that were on the LP side that I really didn't know. A little bit of Meetup, a little bit of Facebook, a little bit of LinkedIn, a little bit everywhere. Just people that have money, had money. And then after closing like my second deal, I'm like, let me go to my hotel owners. Hey, we closed our first deal. Here's what we did. We thought we were going to increase rents 250. We've actually increased rents 375. Oh, really? Well, the rates are going up now. Okay, well, we're buying this place in Naples. It's $1,300 a month. Comps are 2250. Yeah, but they got nicer mailboxes and they got a pool and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. What if we're at 1900? You're not going to get rents that high that quick. Well, what do? We're at $1,900 and $2,000 a month as of August and September on a few of our rents.
Let's go.
So we were, I think our projections were in the 350 increase, and we're at the $600 and $700 increased rents.
Wow,
And
year one.
yeah, man. I mean, we bought it like 3 months ago, and we closed the deal. We had a 1031 that was gonna come in. We closed the deal. We just didn't finish the capex. So continued raising on that deal and everything, and getting everything set and ready. So it was really cool, man. It was awesome. You learn from those things of, instead of getting the money you need, to fully overextend.
Yeah,
And if you need to raise 5 million, look at raising 6 to 7 or $8 million, because 1031, something can happen with their deal and they don't close.
yeah, just in case.
But again, man, just branding ourselves is like, hey, I am a general partner. I am an asset management. I do raise capital as a team together. And just being a teammate, and and sharing it. And then later on, once I closed, I think my second deal, I changed my LinkedIn and Facebook to general partner, and assets under management, and how many units we had, and all that. And then people that I've had a relationship with and branded, like, hey, I thought you're not financing anymore. I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing both. I mean, I want that residual. I want. I have a lot of investors that like the apartments and they like the depreciation, all that. So I'm doing both right now. So, but yeah, I love it, man. I think it's awesome. And I have some hoteliers that are putting in, between $1 and $3 million on deals. And it's incredible because, the hotel side is better cash flow, but it's risky, man. If the exit closes and the hotel's right there and there's nothing in the exit inside, they won't get no business. It's like, hey, the place is on 1 million. Why is it on 700 now? So now you can't sell it for a profit, and they're not bringing any cash flow. So apartments, like I said, it's you buy an apartment for $10 million, you can sell it for $13 million if you're renovating it and increasing the NOI. Um, and you can increase the NOI on a hotel in a smaller to mid-sized brand, but they go by gross revenue. I do all the time going,
Yeah,
oh man, look at this, the cap rate, and look at this. I'm like, on an economy, they don't go by cap rate. Now you can make some really good cash flow. But yeah, get people. I'm like, hey, if you're making 200-300 your hotel, put 100K into an apartment, 100K into self storage, diversify it. But
diversified.
yeah, just we were going out talking about 401Ks, talking about 1031s, talking about how you can make money, and then I had different other presenters that we were partnering with speak and everything, and I got them on Zooms, and of course we learned by failing a couple of times.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I just really appreciate how versatile you are, right? Because you can bring a ton of value to a team, and it's really what you've been doing, right? Um, and what really stands out to me as well is you talk about branding. Branding is really something that you've definitely um, like you definitely succeed at, right? And it's funny. I saw one of your posts recently, and you highlighted. You put your foot down. You said, "I am not just one sided, right? Like I don't just do capital raising, right? I'm also a GP, right? Like I also do all these different things, and it's great that you put that out into the world because people need to understand that you bring value in so many different ways. But man, Ryan, I know that you've
Well,
also
that's how. Well, real quick to cut. So on that,
yeah,
like
yeah,
my partner Danny, he's like, dude, he's like, you're not just raising capital, man. He's like,
exactly.
we're getting 5-10% asset management. We're getting, I'm a sponsor in loans. He's like, I'm getting 10% for sponsoring this loan. He's like, here's 3% GP, and we're sharing it. It's a team, man. It's not like, oh man, here you can go, you can just help us raise capital, help us do this. But when you're working with people that want you to succeed and want your family to succeed, and then they're like, hey man, I'm going on vacation next week, you're on your own. Are you cool? Do you need anything else? Oh, I need the OM with our information on it. I need this and that. Okay, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you. But that's what it's about. Again, it's back to my partner going to Mexico for a week with his family. He was in wherever the heck it was, out in the mountains in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. I don't know where the heck it was. And every once in a while, I'm like, hey man, I got a Zoom. He's like, I'll hop on it, but we're going on some horses in a little bit, man. And I'm like, so I mean, but it's cool. Like, even Javier with the $1 billion boardroom, he was in Mexico, and I had a Zoom with somebody that was investing a few $100,000. He's like, dude, I'll get on. I'm like, bro, I just saw you on Facebook. Were you just getting off stage? Like, yeah, just got off stage, man. What's up? Let's go on the Zoom. I'm like, so I mean, it's cool to really surround yourself around those people. I have some knowledge. God's given everybody a good talent. You just got to find out what that talent is
Yeah.
and use it with other people that can use your talent. That you don't want the same talent of somebody else's on your team. And you can, but you got to work with them and then have the same kind of goals. Are you want to get 2,000 units, 5,000 units, or do you want to cash flow 10,000 a month, 20, 50,000 a month? Where are your goals at? And people don't look at it like, oh, I got the deal closed. I'm like, but you didn't raise any capex. I'm like, it's $1 million capex. Like I got hotel owners all the time. They'll close the deal and go, I got conventional fixed rate. I'm like, okay, cool. You got a 4.5% rate. Now it's like 6, but it's like, I got a good rate. And I'm like, okay, cool. And it's a quality. And I'm like, yeah, I know I had an SBA for you. But it was a variable rate. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, well, wasn't the renovation 500 grand? He's like, yeah, yeah. I was like, well, did you get renovation? No, they wouldn't give it. They wouldn't give it. I'm like, what are you gonna do now? And he's like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to get it, but I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, you try the equipment financing. He's like, yeah, but they want like 9-10% a month for 5-year amortization, and we won't cash flow at all. So you know what happens? They go ahead, instead of getting that SBA loan and still cash flow, now they have a really good fixed rate, and not just my apartment deal, the hotel, and they got their 500,000 renovation with equipment finance, and then they have 5 years of no cash flow or very, very little. So now the hotel's cash flow, they don't sell at a higher value most of the time. And now they might be increasing the value a little bit, but they're cash flowing like nothing, like $25,000, $50,000 a year. And all that renovation money could have been put into an SBA loan. So as an advisor, I was trying to help them. And I go, I really think that was a bad decision. He's like, we got a fixed rate. I'm like, yeah, but now you got a 10% rate amortized 5 years, not 20, not 25, not 30-year amortization, 5. So man, it frustrates me when people do that sometimes. If it's like, hey, I got 100,000 renovation, I'll just do it in the side. Cool. But yeah, man, then people will raise capital for whatever it may be, self-storage or whatever kind of business. If they need a 500,000 or $1 million raise, they don't have it. Really try to find some of your team that can help you raise the capital and whatever their other role is, because they can't just raise capital. They're not a fund manager, whatever it is, but have them raise capital if they're good at due diligence, good at underwriting, if they're good at asset management, whatever that may be. But make sure that team is a full team, because that's what I help people all the time. Is like, hey, I want 50% of this deal. I want this. I'm like, well, where are you getting the bank? We call one bank up. I'm like, you got to call numerous banks. We're a broker. We call 10, 20, 30. There's some brokers that'll call 100, or they'll sit in a platform with like 500 banks in there and see who hits it. I like the boutique broker. So that's how we are with with GRP Capital that I work with. We go out and we select our 3-4 apartment lenders that we work with. Hey, this deal should fit your appetite, or whatever else it is. But so I like that on the financing, which is kind of consulting operations. I help out with raising capital. But I love what I do, and I get calls all the time that I'm not even involved with. I'm like, listen, man, if you're really good at operations, you're buying this self storage, you're good at finding these deals, find some money. Well, I want 90% of the deal. I want 90% of the deal. And this is nobody specific. And I'm like, why don't you take 20%, take 50%, take what you took, 42 or whatever the heck it is, take a lower amount. And if that IRR makes sense, and that person, they're probably going to invest with you next year. They might invest 4 deals with you. Hey, I'm making 20,000 a year. It's not much money. Well, you know what? If you did that 4 times the same deal, you're making $80,000 a year, and you might be sitting on your butt making sure that you have a good process procedures with your property management company doing nothing. And then you start refining a couple of these, pulling out 200-300. Now you're making 160 to 200,000 a year, and you have a good net. But it's just, yeah, man, you got to have the full team, man. I mean, it's about closing a deal, and people will close the deal, and if you're closing on the deal, and I'm going to go on, but if you got 100 unit and 80 unit, and you just have a duplex or a single, get a good asset management. Give them 5%, give them 10% equity, give them something to help you get the deal closed. Learn from that, and then the next time you buy an 80 unit, 100 unit, you don't use them again, or you can use them again and build bigger. But it's all about teams. It's all about learning, networking, growing. But you have to take action. For 2-3 years, I didn't take action.
Yeah, really, really good point. Have you read the book Who Not How?
No, man, I think I even bought it.
Yeah, so Who Not How is a perfect representation of what you just said, right? Finding team members who are able to leverage what you're not necessarily the best at, and they like you leverage their skills and knowledge to get the job done, and then you can focus on what you're really good at. So thank you for actually pointing that out. Who Not How, an amazing book to read if you're looking to build a full team around you. That way you can focus on what you're best at and then pass on the task that you're not good at to somebody else. Ryan, I want to dive into a deal with you, man. I want to know, and I know that you've had, you know, various deals that, you know, that you've worked on, right? Either from a lending side of things or as an investor. Let's talk about a deal as an investor, right? What does the deal look like? Size, location, asset type, and I want to know the challenges that you went through and how you were able to overcome them.
One deal. You gotta give me a second on that one, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Now it can be a most recent deal that you've closed.
so just say that one more time, and let me think about that here. We're just short, sweet, and simple because we have one deal that we're in the works with, but we can't. I don't know confidentially if I can say about it. So say that one more time, and I'll see if the other one can fit or if I can say something broad on that. So if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I would just like to know about a deal that you've closed on in the past and any challenges that you went through, either yourself or within the team, the challenges that you went through to close the deal, or maybe after you closed on the deal. What were some of the challenges that you had to go through, and were you able to overcome those challenges? Yeah, that's it.
There's challenges on every deal.
Yes.
It's just the main thing I say is team. If you don't have the right team, you're going to have challenges throughout that whole term. You have a 5 year on that apartment you're closing, hotel, whatever it is. You might have challenges for 5 years every single day. So one deal we had, we closed, and things were changed a little differently on there on structure. Somebody had to come in and finish the asset management. We helped out with the asset management. GP shares were changed.
What does the deal look
We
like?
had
What's up? The idea. What was the unit count, location? What does that look like? And then I'll continue on with the challenge.
So there was a 60 plus unit in Florida,
Okay.
and just different things on that with partners and agreeing and change in management companies. And when you have GPs on there that are new at the things, it's really better again to have somebody that's been through 2, 3, 5, 8, 10 apartments to continue the asset management, because an asset manager is going to manage the property manager and whoever else. But it's good to have somebody that's in charge, because you'll see on the deal or deals, you'll see on those deal or deals that how do I want to say it? That somebody says, hey, we're getting 20% asset management, we're getting 10%, we're getting this and that. But then it comes out and they're like, oh, well, I need a little bit of help on this. Or somebody's like, hey, I don't think that property management's good. I don't think we can go this way with it. Not to get too detailed, but it's one of those things. And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to come in for asset management. We're going to get more of a GP shares on this. We'll change the formation on this and the PPM and everything else. We'll make sure it fits for who's doing the work, who's putting the work in. And then it's like you go to board, all the GPs going, hey, what do you think? Do you think he or she is putting in X amount of work a week, X amount a day? And do you think that this is fair? And it's like, hey, 30% GP, I wanted 10. My 10%, I want 30. And you're like, okay, let's go in the middle. So, there's been some deals that went that way, but it's one of those things that when we did that, we closed the deal. All the capex wasn't raised, so we were finishing the capex of that deal, and our rents increased $600 to $700 a month. So the investors saw it. It was a 506C, so we could advertise it. We had people come to visit the property and go, "Oh, I didn't think you can raise rents past $300." And they're like, "Oh, wow, this is a beautiful property." But that's the challenges of getting by, of really looking at those comps. People think that sometimes, I guess, you can't raise rates too much because of amenities. But if you're in a beautiful B plus location that's quiet, that's safe, and all those things,
You can.
sometimes you don't need to have a pool and jacuzzi and all these things. Not everybody wants those amenities. Sometimes they just want a safe place to live with a grill outside, a dog walk, and places update a little bit. And still, we're still, I think it's 250 under rents on those ones that are increased.
Oh wow.
So I mean, it's one of those things that you're always going to have these hurdles, but you want to make sure when you go in with these deals that this is the team, this is a relationship that you have for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, however these loans are. But you live and learn on these deals of who to work with, but it's about relationship. Most of these deals, you go out, you go to a conference, you're on Facebook, you're on these things, and you're like, okay, that guy sounds pretty cool to work with. But when you get into it, it's like, oh man, we work with Ryan. He told me he was gonna be boots on the ground. He's never visited the property in 3 years. So I mean, but and it's again, it's I mean, and then I'll tell him like, hey, I'm working on 2 deals right now. I'm not going to be your 9 to 5, 5 days a week person. But I can visit the property once a quarter, once every 6 months. It's being, focusing and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm at. Because some people think, oh, well, you can just travel over here and be there 6, 8 times a year, whatever it is. But you got to make sure that you're intentional and that everybody's on the same page. But it's hard to tear apart a deal or whatever else it is when it's
100%.
relationships and everything else. But you live and you learn,
Yep.
and when you're with somebody, a teammate, GP, joint venture people, and you're with them 3, 4, 5, 6 deals, you can tell when somebody's a good team. Like, hey man, ask Ryan for this. Hey, ask Danny for this. Hey, Javier, send us the underwriting, and it's that big team. But we like closing deals. We like helping others out. There's people that are losing earnest money deposit now on different deals, apartments, self-storage, hotels, and for different reasons. Financing rates are going up. But just make sure you're doing your due diligence and having a partner that's experienced in that asset type. Even though people are like, oh, I want to buy self-storage and they're across country, it's still good to have somebody else's boots in the ground or close by. But just one of those things I kind of wanted to dig into. Went a little off
Absolutely.
topic, but
No, yeah, great answer, man. Now, one of the things that we talked about off camera was a challenge that you're currently encountering uh, in one of your deals. Now, we're not going to get into the details, but you also mentioned to me that in the past you have had the opportunity to raise capital for a few deals, for 1 or 2 deals, but unfortunately didn't meet the quota. So you've gone through various challenges, and of course, as our listeners can see, you've come out on top. So my question to you now, diving into the mindsets section of our podcast, is how do you keep yourself motivated to get through those challenges that you encounter going through the process of closing deals? Like, what is your why? How do you keep yourself motivated to keep going?
well, I think I mean, I seriously, I thank God for a lot of the things that we go through. I've been on a lifestyle change and a diet of fasting in the morning and lunches, and being
Beautiful.
in our church community group. Um, my why is my wife and my kids, my church group, my family. My dad was in the hospital for 6 days, and I was still driving an hour to see him, spending an hour to 4 hours a day. And yeah, it's challenging when you have 8, 9, 10, 12 calls a day, and an hour between. I went and saw him today for about an hour and 15 minutes, but I only had a 30-minute gap here and a 20-minute gap there between calls. And I was
Mm,
like, hey dad, I'm in between a couple of calls. But it's just one of those things. Why is about, I mean, is giving my God the glory, being with my wife, my kids, spending more time with them. Tomorrow we're taking the kids to the doctor in Orlando. They go to a doctor there. It's really good. And we take 2 kids in, and they I don't know, since COVID or even after COVID, now you can only take 2 kids in at a time. We have 3 with my wife and 1 with my ex-wife. So we'll take 2 in one day, and it's actually a day. So you can't take them and wait outside the lobby and bring 1 or 2 back in. So it's weird. So we're going to Orlando. We're just going to stay at a hotel. I'm going to work at the office at the pool, and wife's going to bring 2 kids one day, and then I think she's going to bring 1 kid the next day. And I'm just going to stay at the hotel. I got like 3 or 4 calls a day, and just going to work there. But my wife's my family, vacationing, traveling the U.S., traveling other countries with my family, with my wife, being intentional, spending time with them. But like I think I might talk to you about, building villages. I have A buddy of mine's I'm a man up and go. It's fatherless kids, so spending time with the kids with no fathers and no family, donating money, getting other people that have money to donate cars or money to the organization. We have two foster kids from Africa, not foster, but two kids that we give money to in Africa and one in Mexico. Want to up that, want to actually build a relationship with them and have kids send out a card instead of just having the money going out to them. I'd like to get on a Zoom with those kids sometime. Build a village in another country. I know there's lots of tenting areas close by, but it'd be nice to get the government to give us a building that's not being used and put 10, 20 people, families in those, not make any money on them at all, and just have that and just be giving back to the community. So I mean, but the why is pretty deep. I mean, I have the why of giving 20,000 this year. I have a why of giving a couple of $100,000 in 2 more years. So I mean, I can't make 100,000 a year and give away 200.
Yeah.
So I mean, my goals go up too. The unit counts and everything else go up. But given I went to a Rod Cleef event about 3.5 years ago, and they like, what's your why? What's this? And my family and God and everything written down. And everybody's like 5,000 units, 100 units, 3,000 units. And he's like, man, what's that? It's like, it's giving God the glory, giving $200,000 away to families in need, adopted parents, fostering parents. And he's like, man, that's really cool, man. That's, people are putting out, a new car. And, I mean, I could have got a new car. I got a 2000 and what it is. I don't know. It's a 14-year-old Lexus, whatever, 2008 or whatever the heck it is. I sold my minivan and, closed a couple of finance deals, 20 grand here, 40 grand there, couple of GP deals. And I'm like, I'm going to pay 11, 12,000 cash for a 14-year-old Lexus. And it runs great. I love it. But, and then also being intentional, my why I spent, and I've turned some lives around, man. It's pretty crazy because you don't think about it. And you're like, oh, I'm not putting this picture and video on just for me. Oh, look at me, look at Ryan, dude. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, every Thursday from about 7:30 to 9, about an hour and a half, hour. It's been pretty hot down here, so we'll just do breakfast with the kids, and it's called Daddy Daughter Day, and we usually go to the same restaurant, and every once in a while we'll pick a new restaurant out to go breakfast, and sometimes we'll get coffee and donuts or something. But we go to the same breakfast place usually. Sometimes we'll try a new place out, and we'll pray together. We'll talk about the kids. Hey, if anything bad happened this week, you need to get through. How was your week? They're homeschooled, but they're always doing gymnastics. They're always doing field trips. They're always doing things. But just being intentional, because in 2019, I was one of my best years of making money in finance, and I was not a nice person. I was like, "Hey, babe, I'm making this money on this deal. I'll talk to you later." And she's like, "We're having dinner." And 6:30, 7 o'clock rolls by, and so I was like that. I was just kind of looking for the money and looking for this, and but one of those motivational things. I look for people that motivate me, that just don't motivate just for monies and cars and planes. And cars and things are good, but I motivate for my family and my why. So I mean, but those are my whys, and I'm starting a mastermind up next Thursday, and I want to help 25, 30 people become more successful, closing their first deal, and everything that I learned from the deal room and Jake and Gino and all these other people that have shows going on, they have other things going on. I try to do it for about a third or a fifth of the cost that they do, and try to make a little bit better on what I think is better.
Yeah.
So yeah, just trying to help other people out, and you know, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. And I look, like, you may have one of the most powerful drivers that that I've heard in a long time, right? Um, I think I now understand where you get your motivation from. I now understand where you get that relentlessness from. And it's cool to see. It's really, really cool to see that to you, it's not just about the money. I think it's very inspirational to see that you're using real estate as a means to an end, right? It's a vehicle for you to achieve the freedom to be with your family. It's a vehicle for you to help other people, to help less fortunate people. And the fact that you're mindful and you understand that, I think that's very, very important, to to learn, from you. And it's
Hmm.
very important to see that aspect of you, right? Because that plays a big part in your mindset. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
Right.
man. I mean, I didn't finish college, man. I mean, people are like, "Oh, you're financing, you got a bachelor's in math." I mean, I don't have nothing. I don't even have an associate's. I have like 60 some hours, but I have nothing, man. So I mean, people are, think that, all things are gravy, but I mean, of course, born very, very poor family in Pennsylvania and just trying to work my butt off. My mom, dad never finished college. They've, been pretty successful and they bought their own houses and cabin in North Carolina and everything else my mom's at and everything, retired and everything. But I want to do better. I want them to be proud of me. I want my kids to have a easier life, but I want them also to learn and work, not going, here's apartments, here's a car, here's this. I want them to work for it too.
Yeah.
Um, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I love it, man. I love helping others out. I appreciate you. I appreciate, being on the show and everything, man. I'm excited to meet you in about 3 or 4 weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, we are getting into the final segment of the show, and here is where you get to talk about what you're working on for the rest of the year and who can assist you in achieving those goals. And so, final question for you, Ryan, is what are your goals for the rest of the year? And who is the one thing or the one person that can help you accomplish those goals?
So we work with accredited investors, people that have a 401k, cash in the bank, not making any money on it, a 1031, usually a million or higher, to help them invest into apartments. We do have a 244 unit Class A luxury in Houston right now. We also have a 200,000 square foot industrial outside of Kansas City that we're working on. So if you have any money, we do depreciation on our deals, cost segregation studies. So if you made a lot of money this year and you're looking to depreciate something, if you have money in the checking or savings that isn't making you any money, please, look at one of our deals, look at our team, look at everything on there. I'm looking at closing 1,000 units. I have 259, so I got 700 change to go. That's where I'm looking at.
Awesome.
Looking to, I have some vacations and everything on our goals and everything planned, but closing, love to close on 700 and change more units by end of the year. I'd love to lose. I've lost about 10 pounds now this last 2 weeks. I need to lose about 20 more. Be healthier for my kids and my family. Be a better husband. Be a better father. Father first, and then I'm sorry. Be a better husband first, and then be a better father to my kids. Just spend more time, but more time, more vacations, being there. And I know most of December, I'm pretty much taking most of that month off to be with family and do a couple little trips to cabin, Orlando, New York. I
Beautiful.
mean New York, North Carolina, whatever. But
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, that's my goals, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Ryan, I've had an amazing, amazing, amazing time with you. You are a one of one. Thank you so much again for coming on the show. Final question for you is where can people connect with you? And please tell us more about your mastermind that you're working on and what people can expect from that as well.
So I have a mastermind that's starting next Thursday. I have different speakers in there sporadically every other week. It's a weekly every Thursday, 1 to like 2:30. Just got breakout sessions on there, but it's gonna be enough breakout to get to know somebody in there, to form relationships, form teams in this group. It's about 25 people right now, waiting for a few more to accept and pay into the program. It's 199 a month, which is not that much money. It's also a 4 month program. I don't want to do a year and bore everybody. I don't want to do a you know 2 month and it's like, I just got to know Ryan, and we had a deal and whatever it is. But trying to go 4 months. I usually to go in contract to purchase something is 60, 90 days to find it, LOI. And I'm like, that's 4 months. Do 4 months. I'll probably do a couple a year. But I like helping others out. It's the mastermind. I'm on Facebook as Traveling Commercial Finance Guy Ryan. I have a couple other groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, but I can give you my cell phone is 727-729-2647. Give me a text. I am starting working on more calls with doctors, attorneys, and surgeons. But reach out to me on Facebook. I am full on people, and I it's not that I'm not trying to accept people. I apologize. Get me in my commercial financing 5+ unit group, or the one I just mentioned, or join our mastermind. But I am full. I'm not ignoring you. And people are like, oh yeah, I've been trying to. I invited you a while ago. I'm like, I've had 5,000. I keep on getting rid of my aunts and uncles, and I have like nobody left to get rid of. And But you have to go into conferences and meeting, 50 to 100, 200 people each time you go there and being intentional, you really start meeting 4 or 5, 6,000 people. And people on Facebook, I know most of them. Like I know them, but yeah. So, Facebook, LinkedIn, but I am going to start getting my second VA to start getting on there. So I'm spending more time with the family and a little bit more time off of Facebook and also social media. But social media has helped. It's paid our bills and got us into investing. But love to help you out. If there's any way I can, help out, please give me a call.
Awesome. And I'll put all of Ryan's information in the show notes. Guys, if you're looking to invest passively with Ryan, or if you're looking to learn from Ryan through his mastermind group, please connect with him. He's a proven operator, he's a proven lender, and he's a proven capital raiser. Ryan, thank you again so much for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure. Guys, it's Teeny Collin, Ryan, Value Add Dumas, signing off.
See you guys.